Hi everyone, and welcome to Human Design 101. I'm Paula Fehrmann, your host, qualified life trust coach and human design fanatic. I guide my clients to become their own experts by understanding and, more importantly, living their design. When I first came to human design, I was so overwhelmed by the triangles, squares, arrows, and numbers in the chart that I didn't touch it for more than a year. However, my human design experiment has been the most important transformation in my life, which is why I want to show you how you can use your design as a simple tool to heal, transform, integrate, grow, and ultimately become your own expert. No more looking for the experts outside of you. Keep listening and learning here on the podcast, reach out for private coaching, or book a chart reading with me. Let's talk Human Design 101. Okay, hi everybody and welcome back to Human Design 101. In today's episode, we are going to look at conditioning for each type, what to expect and how to overcome it. And the reason that I wanted to speak about this topic is not to get us all down in the dumps of like, oh my God, woe is me, but rather so that you know what you're working with and you know exactly how to tackle it. You know that the things that you're experiencing and that you're going through are specific to your type, to how your energy works. And because of that, you can learn specific strategies to come back to yourself. So as always, let's dive right in. First of all, let's talk about what actually is conditioning in a human design context, because if we look at a classical psychological way to understand conditioning, it means to train or condition the body to expect a response, or the mind to expect a response when they're being presented with a stimulus. So the classic example is the Pavlovian conditioning, where the bell rings and the dog then gets food, which eventually, after repetition, leads to the dog salivating just by the sound of the bell. And I guess this concept has in common with the human design understanding of conditioning that we're shaping ourselves, or we're being shaped by something on the outside. This is what human design defines conditioning as. We have our true selves, and then we have our experience, our growing up, our parents, outside influences, expectations, things that are not necessarily us at our core, that shape our experience and being towards something that we're not. This is important in human design because conditioning always means something negative, something to overcome. It's not quote unquote negative, but it is something to overcome that is kind of in the way of us being our true selves. And each type has a specific set of conditioning that they work with. And this is really important to understand because in human design, we got to view everything through the type. So the whole chart, all the gate activations, everything, it has to be viewed through the type lens. And yeah, this is important. So for example, a projector might experience the conditioning in their open centers because this is where we are most prone to conditioning. Our open centers act as receivers because they are where we are receptible to the environment. Remember, in the defined centers, we produce our own energy. We've got something reliably going on in there. And in the open centers, the white centers, we are receptive to the environment. So the way a projector internalizes what's going on in the open centers could be very different to what a manifestor internalizes through the open centers. For example, a very open projector might feel the emotional wave of others through their open centers. That's a way of conditioning, someone else coming in with their energy impacting you and changing you from your true self, in a way that they feel like that they have done something wrong. They have done something to cause this emotional reaction in the other person, and that's because because of that, then they take on self-blame. For a manifestor, for example, they could perceive this in a very different way, as in they feel the high or the low of the other person. And then because of that, they get frustrated in a way that the other person wants to sabotage them or doesn't get them or somehow is in their way. And this is a very textbook example. Of course, there's more nuance, but I'm giving you this so that you can understand how the same thing can lead to two very different outcomes in the way of conditioning. The projector would think, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I always cause these things. Drama follows me wherever I go. And the manifestor could think, I can never do what I want to do. There's always these whiny people around me. Again, textbook example. I'm using this to paint a picture here. But let's look at each type specifically. And I'm inviting you to, if you're going to listen to all of them, think about someone in your life that is this type and relate this information back to them, because this is going to help you in integrating and understanding what I'm going to be sharing with you next. So let's start with our generators. The strongest conditioning for generators, and generators are very susceptible to conditioning because they have what we call an open and enveloping aura. That means they're drawing things towards them that they can then respond to. They're magnetic in a way, but also somewhat sensitive because of that. They're designed to pull things in and take things in. So for you guys, it's really important to develop a strong sense of yourself and your identity so that you can then feel into, oh, this is me and this is the other person. I don't need to take this in unless I want to. The biggest conditioning factor for you guys is that you've been taught since childhood that you need to initiate like a manifestor. You heard me say this on the podcast before, you've been abused like a worker bee. People have pushed you to work hard and then to be satisfied with what you're doing because they saw that you have the capacity to do a lot when you're lit up. Now, as we know, it doesn't really work like that for you. You're here to redefine what work means in a way that it supports you, because you only get the energy to do something when you are lit up by something. And if you want to discern or know when to be lit up versus when you're in a trauma response or a nervous system overdrive, I've got an episode of that. I'm going to link it in the show notes. It's really good. But so this can lead to you feeling like you're consequently banging your head against a concrete wall and ending up in your not self theme of tremendous frustration. When you're in your conditioned state, you're living from a very mental point of view, and you've also been conditioned to cut off your sacral sounds, your primal your guidance towards what is right for you versus what is wrong for you. And you can picture this like this. You have like a little toddler, a child. Mummy says, do you want orange juice? And you say, Do you want milk? Do you want water? And because mummy gets annoyed, she just gives you something in the end that isn't aligned with you. And so you've been taught from a very young age that this sacral responding not only isn't really wanted in the world, but also could lead to cause frustration in others, like in mummy, and isn't something you should be connecting with. So your incredibly important internal guidance you have learned to suppress, which leads to you living a life of external and mental focus. When you're conditioned like you're living the life of someone that you think is successful, or what you've been told you need to do to be happy. And in fact, most of us, we started out doing this because this is, as much as we know, this is what we've been told would lead to happiness, success, and fulfillment. So how do we flip this back to your beautiful, vibrant, energetic, and grounded self? First of all, know thyself. Like, the focus on you for you is incredibly important so that you can untangle the influence of other people and other people's auras and bring the focus back to you. Then develop patience. This is so important so that you can wait to respond, to get in touch with your sacral response again. This is your way, your gut feeling, this like innate knowing of whether you want to do something or not, whether you have energy for something or not. It's incredibly important. It's basically the foundation of your whole deconditioning process. And so for you, it's really just practicing that, experimenting with your sacral, and depending on whether you have emotional authority on top of this or not, it's going to look a little different. You can speak to me about this in a reading or go listen to the emotional authority episode. But it's important that you practice that, because this is your internal guidance post. And this is maybe not what you wanted to hear, but it is what I'm going to tell you. So practice being patient, practice your sacral response, and practice focusing on yourself. You need to bring the focus back to yourself, because your journey is likely a journey that no one else has ever done before. And the focus needs to be on yourself. I trust that is clear. If not, feel free to pop your questions into the comments or DM me. Next up are our manifestors. And manifestors are a little bit different because they have this closed and repelling aura. And that means that they're a little bit more immune to conditioning throughout their childhood. But they are often being conditioned to suppress their drive, their urge to initiate, because they've experienced examples in which people have told them off and punished them for initiating. Ra, the person who received this information, was a manifestor, and he tells this story of him running off as a child of 3 years old, just gone into the woods, obviously, not telling anyone. And you can imagine what the reaction of the family would have been to this, like total panic. What the hell, where is my child? You can't ever be doing this again. This is totally unsafe. And so either they suppress, because of that, their urge to initiate, or they lean into this kind of fuck it feeling and just do it in the world, which leads to a lot of resistance from the outside. You can imagine a teenager just doing it, or a child just doing it, and the parents just going nuts because they feel like they can't control their child. When actually, if they knew that the only thing they needed to teach their children is to help them or get to ask them to ask permission, so many asks in there, the problem would be resolved. And then again, this might lead to a lot of build-up anger and feeling misunderstood, feeling like there is a ton of roadblocks in your way, or feeling like you have to play small for other people. And so how to overcome this is really informing the strategy. And again, is important here not because you need to do it. It's not as essential as the other strategies. Like, you can really go without. But the informing strategy has been brought in for you so that you can reduce resistance on the outside and feel more peace in return, which of course is your signature. So you need to learn to inform people, and it does not come natural to you. You likely either have suppressed your urges, or you've just done it and informing seems really shitty. What to do when you've suppressed your urges and you feel like, I don't have any urges? Maybe you listen to this and you're like, what the hell is she talking about? What are urges? And I don't really feel like I resonate with this. I don't really feel like I'm this initiator of things. And so this is a beautiful opportunity for you to tap back into your body. If you don't develop the safety in the body, you won't be able to feel your urges. So you got to do some work on feeling safe in the body, feeling safe as your person, feeling safe to express your bigness. And this is really something that you could explore in one-to-one coaching with me, or any kind of coach that would work with these kind of topics. So if you're a manifestor, inform, develop safety in the body, and allow yourself, because of that, to express your bigness. Now we'll move on to my side of the story, the projectors. And for us, it's really interesting because we are really, really, really sensitive to conditioning, because we are meant to take things in. Now, if you don't know that, you're just taking in everything. So we've grown up without the discernment of who to plug our focused aura in and who to stay away from. So likely we have taken in a lot that wasn't ours, and at the same time we've been pushed to be very different from who we are. Projectors, as we know, like manifestors in fact, don't have the same amount of energy that generators or manifesting generators do. And so the pressure on us to generate and manifest early in life could have led to this feeling of, I can never live up to the expectations of the people in my life. Also, since we've taken in so much, but not necessarily were received in the same way by others, there can be this theme around invisibility and really wanting attention. Like, projectors in their not self can be perceived very needy, very, oh my God, why is no one seeing me? And their behavior can be driven by wanting to be seen desperately. And so this can lead to a lot of bitterness early on in life, and saying yes to any kind of invitation that comes in just because they're so desperate, or we are so desperate, would have been so desperate to be seen. So again, patience is really important. Be patient. Practice leaning back. Practice building out your self-worth. And again, numerous ways for you to do that. And from there, be really discerning with the invitations that come in, right? Just because you get an invitation doesn't mean that you're meant to say yes to this invitation. The invitation needs to recognize you. If you're being invited to do something that isn't you, then it is the wrong kind of invitation. And so this is like a long process. And everybody in this journey, whether projector, manifestor, generator, or reflector, we need to be demanding respect for this journey. Like, this is an important journey. This is a journey of us peeling back the layers so that we can be who we came here to be, so that we can do the work in the world that we incarnated for. And it's not to be taken lightly, and it's an important process. So I want you to write that somewhere important, like on your mirror, on your screensaver, like this time that you're taking for yourself. You could call it deconditioning journey, healing journey. Likely you're on some sort of self-development, self-inquisitory journey if you're listening to this. This is important. It is really freaking important because it's going to get you to the point where you are acting as you, and not just like as who your parents wanted you to be or who society told you you needed to be. Okay, and then last but absolutely not least, we have our reflectors. And they are interesting because technically they have like we call it Teflon aura in human design, so a more resistant aura than, for example, the projector, and they're not so spongy and taking in the energy of others. They're more like reflective. This is why they're called reflectors. So likely they are going to feel more like the people that they hang out with and reflect them back. If they're hanging out with a manifestor, someone on the outside might think the reflector is a manifestor simply because they're reflecting the manifestor back. Now, you can imagine that that creates a lot of inconsistency for them in their life, a lot of malleability and changing depending on where they are and who they're with. And so the strongest conditioning factor for reflectors then is the feeling that there is nothing to rely on, that there is no security, everything is changing, what do I hold on to? And again, the strategy, and I'm sorry if you expected something else in here, but it's just good old basics, strategy and authority, which, by the way, I always love to come back to. It's so fun to dive deeper into the chart, but if you don't practice strategy and authority, the rest of your chart is kind of just mind games. Anyway, back to the reflectors and their strategy of waiting a whole moon cycle and tracking the moon cycle to see the pattern and consistency. And you can compare this to understanding your female cycle in women. If you don't understand your cycle and then you have, for example, a lust spike around ovulation or kind of inwards feelings around and just before your period in luteal phase, you might be very confused every month. You might even experience this growing up when no one had told you about this yet. And you're like, what the hell is going on? You haven't seen the pattern yet. But once you've mapped it out and you figured out, oh, this is happening once a month around this time, it's a lot easier for you to anticipate what is coming, to know what environment you want to be in. Like, if the lust spikes, you might want to be with your partner. If the inward feelings come, you might want to be on your couch. And so you can imagine this in the same way for a reflector. The reflector, once they have figured out the pattern, they know what environments they will want to be in and what kind of energies, and they can, throughout the whole process, talk things out and through sampling the energies of others. So this is really important. In this strategy, you need to talk things out throughout the whole cycle. And so by being able to swap environments throughout the moon cycle and swap the opinions of people, you're not just constantly exposed to one person's ideas, fears, doubts, stress, and anxieties. You have the whole picture. You have different flavors of someone really optimistic and strong and someone who might feel like the wrong person or the wrong place. This is really important information for you, and it's important that you listen to. Reflectors often feel like they were born in the wrong place, so they are wandering the planet to find something that resonates, and this is really the journey that you are here for. Let me know if you found this helpful in the comments. As always, bring your questions in. I really enjoy making these podcasts and videos for you, so send me things that you'd like me to talk about, and then I'll see you next week on the next episode. Thank you and bye-bye. Thank you so much for being here today and listening along to Human Design 101 with me, your host, Paula Fehrmann. I trust that you received exactly what you needed from today's episode, and I love how the universe matched us today. If you enjoy listening and learning with me, please leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that more people can unlock their true selves and ultimately become who they were meant to be using human design. Until next time, lots of love and bye-bye.